what was the first professional band that you played with?
The first professional band, it depends on how you define professional. Like the first band I was in was a gospel band in high school, and we played on weekends. And then from there I joined while I was still in high school, going to Nashville every week from Union, South Carolina. I joined a band called Petticoat Junction, which was an all-girl bluegrass band. And I did that my senior year in high school. And then I moved to Nashville and went to college there at Belmont University, and played with a band my freshman year called Wild and Blue. But when I really feel like I kind of made the jump to a professional band, would have been the sophomore year of college. I joined the Larry Stevenson band.
Oh yeah.
And I think what made that feel different from the rest is just the amount that we played. We played steadily and often enough, and at some pretty normal scene festivals. So it kind of felt like I was starting to get going at that point. So that happened when I was 19, and I stayed there. I was in his band for about 7 years.
Oh wow, cool. So when did you start playing banjo?
I was 13 years old, and I had a slow start. I was 9 and saw the band Doyle, Austin, and Quicksilver at a bluegrass festival in Dahlonega, Georgia. And the band at that time was, of course, Doyle Austin on mandolin, Russell Moore played guitar, and Curtis Vestal played bass, and Scott Vestal played banjo, and he annihilated me. I'd not really heard anything like that before. I'd heard bluegrass for sure, but there was something about that band, and they were all very young.
Yeah.
They were young guys, and that might have caught my attention. And I played all day at the festival, and it got dark, and I was sitting with my parents, and they just came on stage and it blew me away.
Wow.
And Scott's playing was so precise, and he just sounded like a machine up there, and it captivated me.
Totally.
And so I started asking for a banjo about that time, got one shortly later, and within a month of having it, our house burned. And it burned, so we didn't have one, and it was years before I got another one. But when I really got started, I was 13, and I just was consumed by it, and never was able to put it down since.
Totally, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I started around 13 as well.
Yeah, it's a common age. 12, 13, 14 seems to be a really common age. I think it's you're mature enough to take an interest seriously, and you're also, if you've sort of done it before, once you get to that age, I think you should maybe make a decision about being serious about this or not.
Right. I had a lot of friends that I played with when I was in high school.
That's
when I was
nice.
13 too.
Yeah. Peers?
Peers. Like they were my age, it just made it so much more exciting.
Very
We're
fun.
doing this together. Yeah. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And did you go through like the standard? Did you like check out Scott Vestal's playing a ton before you jumped into Scruggs?
Yeah.
Or okay.
I know what you're asking. Scott is kind of what led me there, but as soon as I started playing, unlike a lot of bluegrass banjo players I know who have very defined ideas of how things should be, I'm a huge banjo fan, and I like all the banjo playing. I hear what everyone is going for and like it, and I like the spirit behind it. And even if it's not what I play, I love their intent. Okay, so even though I play pretty much straight traditional bluegrass Scruggs banjo from the very start, I liked everyone. So Scott attracted me, but as soon as I started playing, of course, Earl Scruggs was the main influence, and then my dad's favorite banjo player in the world was Don Reno, so I was to that, or to him, and then it led to the second generation guys in my mind. There were so many that were huge influences, like Sonny Osborne, J.D. Crowe, Alan Shelton, Will Emerson, Alan Mundy. The list, you could just go on and on. So I got into all those guys, and also loved, even though I never get a chance to really play this way, but I got On the Boulevard by Newgrass Revival when I was 15, and it changed my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those records that just you weren't the same ever again. So that led me to Bela. He was already doing the flecktones by the time I started playing.
Okay.
But I discovered him with Newgrass Revival, and then found him with the flecktones, and loved that just as much.
Of course, yeah.
So once I started playing, the world just opened up, and I was receptive to it all.
That's really cool. that's funny that you say Newgrass Row kind of like changed your life because
Oh gosh.
same here. Like that was like one of those records. I can't remember what it was, but it was with Courtney Johnson on piano.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
The
what
original
is he
one.
doing?
Yes.
Yeah. And that like completely like flipped my world around.
Yeah, the spirit of that original band
Yeah.
is contagious. You can't listen to them and just not feel it. I mean, they felt it so well. And I think if I had to say my favorite, Mike Mumford and I talked about this, my favorite Newgrass era is probably when Pat and Bela were there, but they hadn't recorded on the Boulevard yet. So they were doing a lot of the older music. So like 82-3,
Right.
they recorded that I think in 84-5. So for a while they were working on that, but they were playing the old stuff too.
Mhm.
And just hearing those guys play that music, it really was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. And so was Scott. Scott, when I heard him play, was so refined
Yeah.
and just so perfect and so driving that it hit me. And then you have a band like Newgrass Revival where every component there is new.
Yeah.
And they're obviously just great players, world class players. So it's going to be special and it'll change your life.
It will, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I can totally feel that. So do you have like a practice routine?
Yeah, not so
currently?
much now. Really, my practice, I spend a lot of time in the banjo, but I'm playing a lot, or I'm teaching a lot. It's in my hands a lot. Generally, to be honest, whatever I'm practicing for is whatever is next.
Okay.
So, you know, I just budget my time. I'm about to record a new banjo record for Mountain Home or Crossroads, and after today, that will be what my time goes to.
Okay.
So trying to write some
Very
tunes
cool.
for that. Leading up to this, I'm doing a lot of standards today, so not a lot of prep work, but still kind of got ready for this. Prior to this, it was another record that I was playing on. So it just tends to be driven by whatever is next. Now, when I was younger, it just was a habit that everything that I played first would be whatever was newest. You know, you just can't help it. You pick it up and you start playing whatever is newest to you. And then I spent tons of time playing with albums. I probably did that more than any other thing because I felt like I got to be a member of the Bluegrass Album Band.
I get to play with Tony Rice.
I know, yes, my rhythm player is amazing.
Yeah.
It's Tony Rice. So I probably spent more time doing that than any other thing.
Yeah, I do that a lot too.
Yeah,
It's like one of my favorite things to do. It's like the
Still.
funnest way to practice.
Yes, it is, and it's without actually having live people there.
Right.
It's absolutely the most authentic way to practice.
I agree. And I do get my metronome practice in there a little bit, but like I always tell students practice with the metronome, practice by yourself, and do with the record.
Yes.
Because I think those three things are just like so crucial. Like you want to be able to play by yourself without like having to rely on the metronome or rely on the guitar player.
Sure.
But you also want to be able to like understand the language a little bit better with like the recording.
Sure.
And also not have to rely on like bass guitar, like basically a drum set playing.
Sure.
Then you can just have that click and just like kind of like feel the syncopations with that.
Sure. Yeah, that's great advice. And I tend to use a metronome when I record things slowly for students because when you're playing that slow, it's so hard not to speed up by the end. So I generally run a metronome for that. And that's good for them because when they play along, they can trust my timing to know that they're staying even.
Exactly.
So there's a place for it all.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So when you were learning tunes, what's your tune learning process?
Yeah, well, I was blessed because I had a banjo teacher that was great. So most of the stuff that people have to work so hard to get was pretty much handed to me. So the tunes I learned from him, it was a real simple process. He would I never read tab. He would just play and then play it slowly. And I had a cassette recorder, so I'd have just what you do. I would have an up-to-speed version, a slow version. And then we would run through it while I was there, and I'd go home and learn it, and I'd come back, and he'd fix what was wrong, and we went on.
Cool.
So it was quite simple, but quite effective as
Right.
well. Now, do you know Craig Smith?
Yeah, he's my teacher.
Was he? Okay,
Yeah.
Craig and the guy that taught me, Al Osteen,
Uh-huh.
were very much peers. And I love Craig Smith's playing.
Me too.
He is one of my all-time favorites. Absolutely great. He's one of the most tasteful banjo players
I know.
I think I've ever heard. Everything he plays is with grace.
I know.
Even if it's,
incredible.
Cramming it in your face, he does it gracefully.
Yeah, totally.
And it's appropriate, everything he plays.
It really is appropriate. And it's funny that you said the tape recorder thing, because that's exactly what Craig did with me. Is he would record it on a tape, and then sometimes he would tap it out, but for the most part he would just record it on a tape, fast and slow.
Yeah. The only time that I think I have some students that just require tab, and I will give that to them, because my ultimate goal for them is to learn. Every student has their own goal, and that's something as a teacher I had to adapt to, because when I first started teaching, and it is a skill in itself, as you well know, and I just thought, no, you teach them the way it is, and that's what it is, and you're doing them a disservice if you don't teach it that way. And what I've learned is goals are different. I had an attorney in Nashville that his goal was to play for his wife's second grade class, so we did Wheels on the Bus and all these tunes for him, and he felt successful and fulfilled, and he enjoyed that. So I have let up so much and really cater to the student and their needs and understanding where they want to be. So I will write tab and I will give it to them, and some really do seem to require it. But for the people that are serious, particularly with kids, I just don't generally see the need for tab. The only time I tab in those instances is maybe if it's melodic, and because it's like as your G note, here, 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 here.
Exactly.
So sometimes melodic playing, it just saves some time if I tab for them. But that's really about it. If it's a clarification, because this particular thing is going to be hard for them to hear by ear, then I'll do it.
Yeah, totally. And same here. I mean, I think ultimately a lot of students just want to have fun. A lot of my students don't want to be professional.
That's right.
They just want to have fun, and the sooner that you can get them to that place
that's
of
right.
having fun, that's what's most important.
That's right. And I try to honor that and remember that if exercise is your hobby, then that's your hobby. You're not the trainer. You want different things. So for people that come and they just want to make music with their banjo, I try to get them there. And I think it's a much more honorable pursuit than cramming down what you value as important as a teacher. It doesn't mean you spread bad doctrine, riddled with problems and all. It's not that, but you do tailor things to them and their abilities.
Flexibility.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cool. So are you teaching lessons right now?
Yeah, I teach. They're almost all online. We do have just a few people that come, but lots of online students. And I am inspired by my students' spirits because they are so excited. Some of them. My most successful students are the ones who enjoy it the most. And there are some that have really learned to play well, but it's just like they're in pain the whole time they're learning it, and they put so much pressure on themselves. And I just wish I could take that from them and just say, no worries, just relax and enjoy this process. You don't have to make your living doing this. You're a programmer. This is your fun thing. If it's not fun, you shouldn't do it. So I now gauge success as a teacher by how much is this person learning, and are they enjoying themselves?
That's great. So you mentioned you have a CD coming out. Do you want to talk any more about that? Is that going to be original tunes?
Yeah, it's very preliminary at this point. We should record in January or February, which we're in October right now, 15. So we'll record in the early part of next year, and the core band will be Tim Surratt on bass, my husband Wayne Benson on mandolin, and Cody Kilby will play guitar. And then I'll be there. We'll cut the tracks that way, and then we'll source out the fiddle to some guys, and it will be similar to my last project. My first one was all instrumental, and I always put some originals on there, but it's not all original. And then last time I did do some vocal songs on there, and I plan to as well this time. So I should, I'll probably have maybe 4 original instrumentals.
Cool.
I am excited because, as with the last project, Bill Emerson, who I'm a huge fan of, gave me another original tune that's never been recorded. He did that last time too. And his album, Home of the Red Fox, is one of my favorite banjo records. I highly recommend that album to people. I learned all those songs.
Oh, cool.
And actually, we're going to play a couple of his songs today. And so he gave me a song last time and said I could record it. He's doing that this time. So about half the instrumentals will be original. Probably 4 of them will be mine.
Okay.
And then that'll be half the album, and then we'll do some vocal things as well.
Are you singing?
I'll sing harmony. I really, the label has asked about me singing lead on something. I don't think it's going to happen. I hate to break their heart. No. I don't know what's going to happen vocally yet, but I have the songs picked out. I just have to decide how much I'm going to sing. Yeah.
So how can people get in touch with you about lessons or questions?
So they can email me, Wayne and Kristin at gmail.com, and it's everything spelled WayneandKristin at gmail.com. Or the Grascals have a Facebook page. It's grascals.com, one S, and they can always post there, and whoever does that will send me a message.
Cool. Yeah. And I'll post that in the description box.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
Click on it.
Yeah,
for sure.
That would be great.
Do you have any final advice for beginners or any intermediate banjo players?
Yeah, I think it's just important to remember that when you're playing a 3-finger scrug style, at least, is in the bluegrass context, is really all I should speak to. But precision matters, accuracy matters. It's an instrument of details. It's oftentimes not about what you play, it's how well you play it. You have to execute well. And I would also, just to encourage people who are just starting, the learning curve, in my opinion, is very steep with banjo, but it plateaus quickly, okay? Because when we're playing rolls, that's harder than if you're playing single notes with a pick, right? You know, it's just a little bit harder of a skill to get at first. But banjo playing is so repetitive that once you get just a very small amount of vocabulary under your belt, you can play a lot of songs with that small vocabulary. And then each song they introduce just one new phrase, and you've already done all the other stuff. So you're assimilating it differently maybe, but it's the same stuff over and over. And I hope that encourages people, because it's easy to get discouraged in the very early stages when you're just rolling and you don't necessarily feel like you're making music.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest instrument to hear the melody in, even if you're a banjo fan. So especially when you're playing slow, it's like, do I even play, am I playing a song? It can be hard to hear, but if you stick with it and you just learn those first few tunes, you'll be amazed how quickly it will plateau, because the song you learn, if we're talking within the bluegrass 3-finger style world, a song you learn in year 3 is not very much different than difficulty-wise than a song you can learn year 2.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you,
it was
Ben.
really great to hear you play. And also, please check out the Grascals website and email her if you have any questions or if you're interested in Skype lessons.
Thank you.